Okay, so let's go through the remainder and factor theorems. Right, first, I want to review dividing a polynomial by a binomial. Okay. Let's go all the way back. If they gave you up in the numerator x to the fourth minus 3x squared plus 7x plus 2, and divide that by the binomial x minus 3. Okay? And I'm going to take you all the way back through how you did it probably in Algebra 1. Okay? In Algebra 1 you would have done it by long division. So let's go back through that. X minus 3. And we're going to divide that into x to the fourth. Now, if they left out a term, you can put in, like over here, you should see that they left out, between these two, they left out an x to the third. Okay. Okay. They left out a term, so you can put in a 0x to the third, but you don't have to. I'm going to work it without doing that. So let's just divide it the way it is. When you do long division, you look just at the first term and look at the first term inside and say, what do I need up here in my answer so that when I multiply those together, okay, I end up with x to the fourth. So what do I need? X to what power? X to the third, right? Because when you multiply monomials and the bases are the same, what do you do with the exponents? Add them. So when we multiply x to the third times x to the first is just x to the fourth. And then take the x to the third times the negative 3. And you get a negative 3x to the third. Whoops, that one's to the third. Okay, and then the next step is to subtract. So when I subtract, I change the signs on the bottom row. And you may want to do that with a different colored pen. Okay? You want those first terms to be identical, so then when you subtract, they drop out. The x to the fourth minus x to the fourth drops out. Now, these two are not like terms. Bring down the highest one first, the highest exponent. So bring down the 3x to the third. Then you've got to bring down the sign in front of, so it'd be minus 3x to the second. Bring that down. Now look at just the first term, the x, and the 3x to the third. What do I need up here in my answer so that I get exactly 3x to the third? 3x squared, right? So it would be plus 3x squared. And then multiply 3x squared times x would be 3x to the third. And then positive 3x squared times a negative 3 would be a negative 9x squared. The next step is change the signs on the bottom row. Okay, and that first term should drop out. Okay, now these are like terms, so you can combine. Take the difference of the numbers and the sign of the larger one, and the variable stays the same, and the exponent stays the same. Okay, then bring down that next term. Bring down the 7x, and it's positive, so you've got to bring down the sign in front of it. You look just at the first term that you're dividing by, the x, and you look just at the first term here. What do I need in my answer? 6x, and it's got to be positive 6x. Then take 6x times x would be 6x squared, and 6x times a negative 3 would be a negative 18x. Change the signs on the bottom row. Okay, and then you're adding the 6x squareds drop out, and we'd have 25x. Then you've got to bring down the next term, bring down the plus 2. You look just at the first term, what do I need in my answer? plus 25. And then 25 times x would be 25x. And 25 times a negative 3 would be a negative 75. And then subtract. Change the signs on the bottom row. And 25x's drop out, and we end up with 77. Now, some authors will write it like this. They will put remainder 77. Some authors will put a plus sign and put the remainder 77 over the divisor. Okay? I'll take it either way, depending on your author. Okay, and you might want to look in the back and see how the author is doing one of the odd ones. Okay? Do you remember doing that in Algebra 1? Long division? Okay. Now, last year you should have gone through synthetic. Okay, now, over here I did not put in that 0x to the third, the missing term, but on synthetic, if you don't put in the 0 term, you're going to get the wrong answer. So, on synthetic, basically you take that divisor, set it equal to 0, and what you're going to divide by, okay, is 3. Okay, so divide by 3, and usually they draw the like a backwards bracket there, and then it would be 1x to the fourth, 0x to the third, negative 3x squared, 7x, and then 2. This one, it's critical on this that you put in that 0, the missing term. Okay, and then the first step on synthetic division is add going down, so you just bring down the 1. That's the first step. And then multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. Add, and you line it up underneath the second column and add going down. Okay, and then 3 times 3 is 9. Line that up underneath the third column and add going down. So in this case, you're adding a positive and negative.
Please excuse this interruption. All students A through F, please report to the gym at this time.
And then multiply, that'd be 18. If that involves you, go ahead and go. Okay, and then 75, and then add going down 77. Okay, and here's your remainder. You go descending order of the exponents. You need to depress that highest exponent by 1.
Please excuse this interruption. Only freshmen A through F.
Okay, so this would be x to the third minus 3x to the second plus 6x plus 25, and then the remainder is 77. So you depress that highest exponent by 1 and then go descending order of the exponents. Okay? And this one, label that is synthetic division. This method over here, I call this long division. But you should see the same answer coming up. You can always go back to long division. Okay? Okay, now, is x minus 3 a factor of that original polynomial? Did it go in there evenly? No, we had a remainder, so it's not a factor. For it to be a factor, what's the remainder have to be? 0. Okay? So, if the remainder is 0, then the divisor is a factor. That means it would go in there evenly of that polynomial. If the remainder is 0, then the divisor is a factor of the polynomial. Okay? Okay, I want to go through another example. They're going to have you do some problems like this. Let p of x, and the p of x just stands for a polynomial. Let p of x equal 2x cubed plus x minus 2. Show p of negative 2 is the remainder. Show p of negative 2 is the remainder when p of x is divided by x plus 2. Okay, two things we're going to do here. One is substitution. Okay, so take p of x, write down the original 2x to the third plus x minus 2. And if we divide by x plus 2, what you're going to substitute in is x minus 2. It's always, think of this as x plus 2, think of that's equal to 0, and if we subtract, so what we're going to sub in is the opposite sign. You don't have to do that, you ought to be able to do that by sight. So then if we sub in, everywhere we see an x, we're going to sub in a negative 2 and simplify it. Remember, on order of operations, you've got to do the exponents first. A negative 2 cubed means negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Be what? A negative negative 8. Negative 8 times 2 would be a negative 16. Okay, plus a negative 2 minus 2. So we should end up with a negative 20 for p of negative 2. Do you agree with that? Okay, then do synthetic division. Okay, so take just the coefficients. 2, they left out a term, they left out an x squared, and 1 and negative 2, and you're going to divide by negative 2. Okay, so do synthetic division. First step is just add going down. Bring the 2 down to start. Then multiply 2 times a negative 2, be a negative 4. Line that up underneath the second column. And add going down, be a negative 4. Negative 4 times a negative 2, be a positive 8. Line that up. Add going down would be 9. 9 times a negative 2 would be a negative 18. And add going down would be negative 20. What they're trying to get you to see on this problem is, if you do synthetic division, your remainder is always the number on the right. It ought to be the same as if you did what they call synthetic substitution. If we substitute in negative 2, we ought to get the same number. So now you have 3 methods to check your problems. You've got long division, what I call synthetic substitution, and synthetic division. Okay, this one, let's label it. Okay, this method, and we're going to call that synthetic substitution. And then this one is the synthetic division. But your remainder should be the same answer both ways. Okay? Okay, then the author goes through the remainder theorem. Okay, so put this in your notes for the remainder theorem. The remainder theorem says if a polynomial p of x, and remember the polynomials just have the plus or minus signs in between the terms. If a polynomial p of x is divided by x minus r, the remainder is a constant. That's like our negative 20 up here. That's a constant. There's a constant p of r, because we substituted in like negative 2. In this case, our r would be negative 2. Okay? And the polynomial p of x equals x minus r times the quotient q of x plus the remainder p of r, where q of x is a polynomial with degree one less than the degree of p of x. So, example, if we went back up to the original problem, whether you did it in synthetic or long division, how do you check division? How would I check it? What's the inverse of division? Multiplication. So if I wanted to check this, they're saying take this quotient, x cubed plus 3x squared plus 6x plus 25, times the divisor, x minus 3, and then add on the 77. Okay, so if I wanted to check that problem, according to this remainder theorem, I would say the polynomial would be the x minus 3 times my quotient, x cubed plus 3x squared plus 6x plus 25. And when you add on the remainder, you just add on the 77. So if you wanted to check that, you would take x times every term. You would take negative 3 times every term, and then add on the 77, and you better get the original dividend. Okay? Okay? So this is the x minus r times, this was the quotient, the q of x, and then this was the, they wrote it as p of r. The 77 was the p of r. Okay, so you can check that. Okay? Okay, now let you try one. I'll let you try one without me. Okay. Say they ask you to find the remainder when x cubed plus 8x plus 1 is divided by x minus 2.
Please excuse this interruption. All freshmen G through K, please report to the gym.
Check it. Okay, if you did the synthetic substitution, p of x would equal the x cubed plus 8x plus 1, and you're gonna substitute in a positive 2. So we'd have 2 cubed plus 8 times 2 plus 1. Order of operations, this would be 8 plus 16 plus 1. Okay, should end up with 25 for the remainder this way. Synthetic division, remember on synthetic, you've got to put in the missing, they did not have an x squared term, so you'd have 1, 0, 8, 1, divide by 2. What you divide by and what you substitute in are the same number, so add going down, multiply, add going down, multiply, and add going down, and that'd be 24 and 25. So your answer should be, there's the remainder and there's the remainder. One's substitution, one's division. Okay? Okay, the last thing on this is the factor theorem. And the factor theorem says, and you guys have basically already said it, the binomial x minus r is a factor of p of x, IFF, if and only if p of r equals 0. Okay, if and only if it's a factor, if and only if the remainder is 0.